I got my Canadian passport earlier this year, and that means I can travel visa-free to 148 countries. The first country I chose to travel to was the United States of America. I've never been there before, but always wanted to visit. Many say US has a lot in common with Canada, and others say it's very different. I wanted to see it for myself. I was anxiously excited and of course had some expectations. Let me share this trip with you and talk about observations and the cultural shocks that I had while visiting the US. Some of them have changed the way I see the US forever. Anastasia and I landed in Los Angeles late at night, so we drove straight to the hotel because we were exhausted. My first expectation was to feel the ocean breeze in the air, similar to what you can smell when you exit the airport in Vancouver. And there was no fresh ocean breeze. The airport was buzzing with bus engines, angry honking drivers, and security yelling at everyone. Welcome to America! Our hotel was located in Santa Monica, and we decided to search for free street parking near the hotel. Fortunately, we were lucky and found a spot. As I stepped out of the car, I was startled by a sudden movement in the darkness ahead of us. A homeless guy was sleeping in the corner just a couple of meters away from us. That's when I realized that the whole street was unlit for some reason, and that's why I didn't see the guy. For some reason, none of the lamp posts were on that street. The street itself was nothing out of the ordinary, just a simple residential street with a few houses and a school nearby. I later noticed that some highway posts were off during nighttime too. Is this part of some kind of energy-saving initiative? So my first impression of Los Angeles wasn't the best. But the next morning, the first thing we did was to walk to the beach and say hi to the ocean. And my second impression of Los Angeles significantly improved. Starting with that day until the end of the trip, I would constantly catch myself feeling like this is not me and this trip is happening to somebody else while I'm just listening to their story or watching a video about it. I couldn't believe that I was actually in Los Angeles. Have you ever felt something like that? I think this is because growing up, my life was influenced by American culture so much that there was this dreamy allure about it. The land of dreams, freedom, and endless possibilities. I'm just gonna chill out here with one of my favorite actresses. It was hard to believe that I was finally there, homeland to all those movies, TV shows, music, cartoons, food, snacks, drinks, clothes, and various brands. Growing up in the 90s in Russia, each piece of American produce was something so rare and valuable, it felt magical and it felt like something outside of this world. Buying a Nike shoes was a special occasion, an event we would save up for years and make a whole big deal out of it. They were so rare and so expensive. And I remember my favorite ice cream from the US, and it was so expensive that I would cherish every single bite of it. Good old post-Soviet 90s. And there I was, surrounded by all that, soaking it all in, and it felt unreal. Look where I am. Finally, we found him. And the first, probably the main cultural shock I had was seeing that it's all about the money in the US. I expected it, I heard about it from Anastasia, but the width and depth of it one can only experience when physically spending time in the US. Every day, every minute, someone is trying to sell you something, either explicitly or obviously or stealthily. The American money-making machine is working non-stop. Small fees are included everywhere. Americans make money literally off everything. Ads, commercials, promotions on every corner are trying to convince you to spend more and more money. People constantly talk about money and ways to make, invest, or save money. And it's such a well-oiled capitalistic machine that you do end up spending a lot of money, sometimes without noticing. For instance, we went to Universal Studios for one day and ended up spending well over $1,000 there. That's excluding parking and entrance fees, which are exorbitant too. Just getting into Universal Studios, there's dozens of upsells, premium, pro, VIP, exclusive, whatever access. It's annoying and amazing at the same time. How do they do that? Well, in Universal Studios, for example, they play on your childhood dreams. Our top attraction to visit while at Universal was the Harry Potter Wizarding World. Both of us are huge Harry Potter fans. For those who haven't been there, this place is like a fairy tale, a real Harry Potter world. The attention to the smallest details, or the staff and actors' work, they actually have British accent, the atmosphere, quality of production and entertainment. I felt like I wanted to cry. That's how overwhelmingly magical this place felt. And on top of it, they do different mini enactments, and I was randomly selected from a group of people to participate in a wand selection ceremony. So what do you think happened after this 5-minute ceremony? Well, I paid almost $100 to buy this wand that chose me, because, you know, the wand chooses the wizard. Could I say no thank you? Of course. But then I would miss out on an experience that I dreamt about as a child and essentially lose a piece of magical feeling in my heart. The American capitalism is so good at doing its job that now this wand is just lying around at my house and is waiting to be taken to another Harry Potter world, for example in Orlando, and the vicious cycle never stops. See what they did there? They spent just 5 minutes to charm me, inspire me to buy a wand, and plant an idea to go to Orlando next time, all while capitalizing on my childish spirit. There are many more examples that I could give when we were lured into spending more throughout this trip. For example, it's like a shopping mall in the middle of nowhere. There's literally no one here. On our way from LA to Las Vegas, there was a shopping mall in the middle of a desert. There is no town there, there's nothing, there's barely any people there. But this shopping mall is strategically placed there because who would say no to stretching their legs in an air-conditioned shopping mall after a long drive in scorching heat? Call Americans stupid, but I think there are definitely a few things that they're really smart about. And if you think about it, it totally makes sense why American culture is so spread out around the world. That's because they promote it just so well. Click the like button below if you ever had McDonald's and let me know whether you're Team Coca-Cola or Pepsi. And I'm not saying this money-making machine is a bad thing. I'm just sharing how impressed I was. There are many positive sides to it. For example, the service in the US is really good and efficient. Once you have the slightest idea to spend your money, everything will be perfectly designed to make it easy for you. Going to a restaurant, checking into your hotel, buying anything, you will be welcomed and served so quickly and efficiently, you will appreciate it. The check-in experience in the US hotels was the quickest and the nicest experience I've ever had in my life. Well, time is money, right? Another thing that I really loved that Canada doesn't have is that many shops are open till late at night. Yesterday I went to a local grocery shop and it was closed at 7 p.m. In the US, we went to the grocery shop in a small town in the middle of a desert during the weekend and it was still open at 10 p.m. Another positive culture shock I had is that quality of entertainment and food is top-notch. We visited one cute family-owned restaurant not far from Sequoia National Park, and they had a promo page sharing the history of their restaurant on the front page of their menu. The sentence describing the size of their portions caught my attention. You work hard for your money and you deserve your money's worth. That sentence explains why Americans do so many things really, really well and in abundance. They are workaholics. It's a fact that there is no federal or state statutory minimum paid vacation or paid public holidays in the US. As a result, the average American gets 10 vacation days per year, which are all public holidays like President's Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. If you work hard for every cent, wouldn't you want to have the best entertainment, the best relaxation, the best food, the best service, the most comfortable amenities, cars, clothes, convenient roads? I feel like roads are better here than in Canada. And yes, roads in the US are so much better than in Canada. Well, let me rephrase that. Based on where I've been and what I've seen, roads in California and Nevada are better than in Ontario, British Columbia, Alberta, Manitoba, Quebec, and Newfoundland.
There is more space. You just typically see a lot more lanes. You know how they always say that American cars are always big-ass trucks? So I feel like the roads are built for those huge trucks.
Do you like driving in the US compared to Canada?
I do actually. Driving is more smooth and faster. There's less weird things that happen on the road where people are being slow or
stupid. Feels like people drive faster here.
I can't say that it's dangerous driving, it's just more efficient.
The road signs are in miles.
That's actually another thing I noticed. I feel like the signage overall is a little bit more intuitive than what I'm used to in Canada, especially when you're driving on interchanges or getting on and off the highway.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it. And before you say, well, it's all about the climate, yes, I totally agree with you. That was my first thought too. As we drove across California and Nevada, seeing all those miles and miles of orchards, valleys, red rock hills, and constantly changing scenery, I could only think about how the United States are blessed with their geography. It's a beautiful country with spectacular views and an abundance of climate zones to choose from. Americans are truly privileged to live in such a beautiful and climatically diverse country. We also spent a few days at the Sequoia National Park, and it absolutely blew my mind. Imagine that! Those western slopes of the Sierra Nevada in California is the only place where those magnificent gentle giants grow. Props to the Americans for having the foresight to preserve the nature. It was also sad to see trails of forest fires and destruction they caused. We've driven through miles of burned down, dried trees and could only imagine how magnificent this place was just a few years ago before the fires. But forest fires are also important for the circle of life, and in years and years to come, new baby sequoias will be growing there. We really must do our best to let the nature flourish and protect it. Otherwise, our children and children's children will only see places like this on pictures. And then we drove down from those green mountains and saw those blooming orchards again. Oranges, grapes, lemon trees, pistachios, you name it. The agriculture is so diverse and so lush in the US that there is more than enough food for everybody. Hence, you need to sell all this food. Hence, food portions are huge. I expected it, but it was still shocking to me. I mean, food portions in Canada are big compared to Europe. But the size of food portions in the US is mind-blowing, even compared to Canada. Now let's talk about people a bit. There are three things that stood out for me. People are super nice and polite. Why did it surprise me? Because many of my friends in Canada kind of warned me that Americans are loud, rude, aggressive, and are nothing like Canadians. Maybe I was lucky, or maybe people in Los Angeles and Las Vegas are special, but I only experienced good interactions and no conflicts or misunderstanding at all. Moreover, I felt like people in Las Vegas are very easygoing and very friendly, probably because they're mostly from service or entertainment industry, so it's their professional acquired trait. And maybe they feel like they need to make friends, as it's hard to build relationships in the city where people come and go every day. Or maybe they're working hard for their tips. I've also felt like there is less diversity in LA and Las Vegas, especially compared to Toronto. Spanish language is of course used everywhere. People in California obviously look after themselves well, and waterfront is full of people doing all kinds of sports. However, the extent of obesity in some people I've seen was something I've never seen before, even in Canada. I've also noticed that smoking is not common in the US, similar to Canada. The only place where I saw people smoking was in Las Vegas, either on the streets or in the casinos. I wish fast food was as expensive and frowned upon as smoking. Maybe that could help people in the US with their health issues. And I'm not even going to start on the topic of car dependence and poor walkability of cities and lack of convenient public transit, and it's all the same in Canada, unfortunately. Anastasia also mentioned that California is not the US, meaning that I should not build impressions of the whole country based on one state only, which makes me want to explore more states. Which state would you recommend and why? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.